You are 7 years old. The year is 1228. The place? A cold stone corridor deep inside St. Agatha's convent in northern France. Candlelight flickers against walls carved with the faces of saints. Saints whose eyes seem to follow you, their expressions frozen between agony and peace. The air smells of melted wax, old wood, and something metallic. The faint iron scent of blood that never quite leaves these stones. Your small hand holds a wooden doll, the last gift from your mother, the last proof that you were once loved. You don't know it yet, but this will be the final time you touch something that belongs only to you. Because by dawn, you will no longer exist, not as you. The corridor of shadows. The other children move silently past you like ghosts. Their heads are shaved, their feet bare against freezing stone. They do not speak. They do not smile. Their eyes, empty, ancient, hold a kind of knowledge that no child should ever carry. You notice the welts across their backs, faint lines of purple and red, the way they flinch when footsteps echo down the hall. You see the black-robed figures moving like shadows, nuns gliding soundlessly, their faces hidden beneath heavy veils. They move with purpose, like hunters. And in that silence, you understand something instinctive, that these walls, though built in God's name, do not protect. They consume. A child given to God. Your name is Marguerite of Lorraine. Your father, once a proud farmer, fell into debt after a failed harvest. Your mother was accused of practicing folk healing, witchcraft, the church whispered. A priest visited your home with what he called mercy, a way to cleanse the family's sin and erase their debt. Offer your daughter, he said. Let her serve God. Her soul will save your house. Your parents, terrified of damnation, agreed. And so, one morning before sunrise, you were led away by 2 church servants. Your mother pressed a wooden doll into your hand, a crude figure with painted eyes, and whispered, "Be brave, my little one. God will watch over you." But here, in this cold corridor, you will learn that God does not live in St. Agatha's, the system of holy trade. What history books often skip, what the church never wanted remembered, is that between 1100 and 1500, nearly 40,000 children were gifted to convents and monasteries across Europe, in France, Germany, England, the Italian states. They called it oblation, a holy offering. But it was a trade. Families could erase debts, financial or spiritual, by surrendering their children. The church gained workers, servants, and, in secret, much more. The youngest recorded was 4 years old, the oldest barely 14. And of those children, fewer than 3 in 10 ever reached adulthood. Arrival at St. Agatha's. Marguerite's first day followed what convent records called the preparation period. Her doll was taken first. A nun said, "Earthly attachments hinder spiritual growth." Then her clothes were removed, replaced with a coarse brown tunic. Her golden hair shaved completely. She cried, but no one comforted her. A bucket of icy water was poured over her to cleanse sin. She was led into a dormitory where 20 other children sat silently, eyes fixed on the ground. Above them, a crucifix loomed, Christ carved in agony, but his gaze was not mercy, it was judgment. From that moment, Marguerite was no longer a daughter or a child. She was an offering. Behind the prayers and hymns, St. Agatha's ran on profit. Each child brought money, fees, donations, and blessings. A single girl like Marguerite could generate the equivalent of 5 years of peasant wages. Convents sold trained servants to noble households. They sold obedience, purity, silence. And for those who could afford it, they sold far worse. Officially, these places were houses of God. Unofficially, they were markets, sanctified by fear, protected by power. Within the first week, Marguerite learned the rules. No speaking during daylight, no eye contact with superiors, no keeping of personal items, no crying under any circumstances. Each infraction meant punishment. A missed prayer could mean a night in the cold chamber. A whisper after dark meant lashes. A tear, even one, could mean days without food. By the end of her first month, Marguerite had stopped asking questions. She began to mimic the others, moving silently, eating mechanically, praying without meaning. That was the goal. Not to teach obedience, to erase self. On the 30th day, Marguerite was brought into the chapel. Candles burned low. Incense choked the air. The Mother Superior placed her hand on Marguerite's head and said, "Your name is a vanity. You will have no name but one of purity." She was given a new name, Penitenta, the one who atones. Her wooden doll was brought before her, placed on the altar. The nuns chanted prayers as the doll was thrown into the fire. Marguerite screamed, tried to grab it. 2 sisters held her arms. The Mother Superior whispered, "The fire purifies. Your soul belongs to God now." And as the flames consumed the doll, Marguerite's last connection to her mother turned to ash. The next phase was education. At least that was the word they used. Each child was taught holy service. They learned how to pour wine, how to kneel gracefully, how to sing hymns while keeping their eyes lowered. But the lessons were not about prayer. They were about presentation. Older nuns instructed them on posture, tone, and behavior, skills meant to please the visitors. Visiting priests, bishops, noblemen, each came under the veil of spiritual inspection. The younger the child, the higher the donation. Marguerite learned to move as they wanted, to smile when praised, to hide pain behind silence. Every touch disguised as holiness, every wound justified as discipline. Within the dormitory, the children had their own language. A glance meant warning, a small cough, danger, a scrap of fabric left on a bedpost, someone is watching tonight. This secret network kept them alive, barely. Through it, Marguerite learned who to avoid. Sister Miriam, whose punishments left scars. Father Anton, who prayed loudly after private confessions. They couldn't fight, but they could warn. And in a place where even a whisper was forbidden, warning was resistance. There was one lesson every child eventually learned: how to disappear, not physically, but mentally. When pain came, they went somewhere inside themselves, a small, locked room in their own mind where the hurt couldn't follow. Marguerite mastered it by her 2nd month. She could stare at the ceiling and leave her body behind. She could hear voices, feel touch, and yet be far away. This was survival, not life, just the absence of death. Records later found in Vatican archives describe Marguerite, item 47, as exceptionally obedient, suitable for advanced spiritual service. She had become what the system demanded: silent, beautiful, empty. The ideal offering. She would soon be chosen for her first special ceremony. And though she could not know it then, that ceremony would mark the beginning of the end. The end of innocence, the end of childhood, the beginning of history's most hidden horror. They called it initiation, a sacred ritual meant to bind the body and soul to God. But to those who lived it, it was the night when the light of heaven turned black. Marguerite was 12. By now, her obedience had become instinct. She no longer spoke. She no longer dreamed. Even her tears had learned silence. That morning, the Mother Superior entered the dormitory, her robes whispering like serpents on the floor. "Penitenta," she said softly, "the Lord has chosen you." The words sent a chill through every girl in the room, because chosen didn't mean blessed, it meant taken. The others lowered their heads, avoiding her eyes. Only one dared to meet her gaze, a small girl named Elise, barely 9. Her look said everything: "Don't go." But obedience was no longer a choice. The ceremony began at midnight. Candles lined the chapel walls. Incense filled the air so thick it blurred the edges of reality. Marguerite was dressed in a thin white robe, a symbol of purity. Her feet were bare. Around her neck hung a chain with a small cross of iron, heavy and cold. The Mother Superior and 4 priests stood waiting. Behind them, shadows, figures that never revealed their faces. A hymn began, low and haunting. Voices of nuns chanting words she didn't understand. Latin phrases that felt more like curses than prayers. The priests surrounded her, hands pressed against her shoulders. Fingers traced the cross on her chest. She was told to kneel. The hymn grew louder. Then, silence. A voice whispered in her ear, "Your body is not yours now. It belongs to God's servants." Marguerite trembled, but the world didn't stop. It never did. That night, a child's soul was buried beneath ritual and secrecy, and a system older than the church itself. When dawn came, Marguerite couldn't move. Her robe was torn, her knees bruised. Blood marked the floor like a forgotten prayer. No one came to comfort her. No one even looked at her. A nun entered silently, wiped the floor clean, and whispered, "Purity restored." Marguerite tried to speak, to ask why, but her voice had vanished. She hadn't lost it. It had been taken. Weeks later, she was given a duty: to copy records into the convent's book of confessions. At first, she thought it was scripture, but as she read, she realized what these confessions were. They were contracts, written in elegant Latin, sealed by bishops and noblemen. Each one named a girl, her age, and her donor. Each page described the offerings, the ceremonies, the penances, and in the margins, the signatures of the men who came at night. She found her own name. Item 47, Penitenta, offered to the service of St. Agatha's by His Grace, Bishop Renaud. Under ceremonial record, a single phrase: vow of silence, successful. The older girls began to talk to her again, in secret, in gestures, in broken breaths during prayer. They told her of a hidden passage behind the confessional wall, of girls who had tried to escape, of others who vanished, names erased from the book. They called themselves the Silent Ones. Every night, they gathered near the candle storehouse, their only light a single flame. They didn't pray, they remembered. Each told fragments, stories of homes they barely recalled, families who traded them for salvation. They didn't cry. They didn't curse God. They simply existed together. And in that silence, something ancient began to grow. Not rebellion, but the first spark of truth. One winter's night, a carriage arrived from the city. The convent bell rang twice, a signal of high rank. From her window, Marguerite saw torches, cloaks, armor, a nobleman's escort. The visitor was no priest. It was a duke, wealthy, powerful, untouchable. He was greeted by the Mother Superior herself. A small pouch of gold passed between them. That night, another girl was taken from the dormitory, Elise, the one who had warned her. She never returned. The next morning, her bed was gone, her name scratched out from the roster, her clothes burned. When Marguerite asked where she'd gone, a nun replied, "She has been chosen for eternal service." But in the corner of the courtyard, she found a ribbon, blood-stained, buried in snow. That image, red on white, never left her. Marguerite began to write secretly on scraps of parchment stolen from the scriptorium. She wrote what she saw, what they did, names, dates, rituals. She hid them inside the hollow base of a candle stand. Every truth she wrote felt like a piece of herself returning. But truth had a price. One of the older girls, Sister Clara, discovered her writings. At first, she said nothing. Then, during Mass, she disappeared behind the altar. That night, the Mother Superior called Marguerite to the chapel. The candle stand was there, broken open. Her notes scattered across the altar. "Do you wish to defy God?" the Superior asked. Marguerite said nothing. Silence was all she had left. For 3 days, she was locked in the punishment cell, a stone pit beneath the chapel floor. No light, no sound, no food. Only the dripping of water and her own heartbeat, echoing like a clock pounding down to death. On the 4th day, thunder shook the walls, lightning struck the convent roof. A fire spread through the upper chambers, fast, wild, merciless. Smoke filled the corridors, screams echoed through stone. Marguerite, barely conscious, was dragged out by a younger novice who had stolen the key. They ran through the courtyard, their feet cut by glass, rain mixing with ash. Behind them, St. Agatha's burned, its walls collapsing, its secrets turning to smoke. Dozens died that night, the Mother Superior among them. The flames consumed the chapel, and with it, the Book of Confessions. Marguerite and the novice, her name lost to history, walked for days through the countryside. They hid in barns, begged for food, slept under trees. But freedom came with its own curse. Every village they entered turned them away. People saw their shaved heads and gray tunics and whispered, "Witches, runaways from God." They reached the city of Reims, only to be captured by guards. The church called them heretics, their words lies of the devil. Marguerite was sentenced to silence once more, this time by death. The night before her execution, a friar came to hear her confession. He expected repentance. Instead, she told him the truth. Everything. The fire, the ceremonies, the names. The friar listened, trembling. When she finished, he said only one thing: history will not forgive them. He recorded her words, hidden later in a monastery archive. Centuries would pass before anyone read them. In 1856, a historian uncovered fragments from the Reims manuscript. Among them, Marguerite's final testimony. It described St. Agatha's not as a place of holiness, but as a machine built on fear and obedience. Her words ended with a single line, faded but clear. We were told to be silent, but silence is not peace. Silence is the echo of those who never came home. Music swells, strings and choir rise together. Marguerite's name was erased from official church records, but her story, her voice, survived through whispers, through documents, through the memory of those who refused to forget. She became a symbol of every child who vanished behind convent walls, a reminder that faith without humanity is only another kind of darkness. And though centuries have passed, the stones of St. Agatha's still stand, silent, cold, and haunted by the echoes of little girls who prayed for angels and found none. She was one of thousands, but in her silence she spoke for all.